song to see if you still know the song. Yeah. The song? Okay. Sholoza, uyezindaba stimela spuma South Africa. When uyabaleka, uyezindaba stimela spuma South Africa. You still know it? I was born by parents who belonged to two different ethnic groups. And in South Africa, under apartheid, the system tried emphasizing ethnicity. I never saw myself as non-South African, but obviously the government saw me as a non-South African because they had a system, a Bantustan system or homeland system that they created based on ethnicity and artificially created, moved people through forced removals to take them to go live in those places. My father had a business, and the only place he could get his license and continue to practice was in a homeland. My father was working when he started running the business. He wasn't home all the time. He was at his business, which was lots of miles away. So he wasn't coming home every day. The person who was a constant figure, even working, was my mother. She would wake us up in the morning because we're girls. Girls cannot sleep late. And it was worse on the day that my father is there, like, wake up, your father is here. I think my mother lived for her children. Teenage years, it was like, I don't think she's my mother. She must have adopted me. And as I got older, I sort of get closer. So became my confidant, my friend, and that just shaped the kind of mother I wanted to be to my children. That's my mother, and these are my two cousins, my two sisters, my daughter-in-law. Oh. New Year's Eve party was just the women of the family. Oh, I come from a very matriarchal family, and we decided it was going to be a women's party. One of my favorite moments that I remember was my two sisters and I going to the shops, and everybody knows you, so the owner starts talking to us like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I answer first. I say, I want to be a nurse. And my two sisters burst out laughing. And I looked at them like, why are you laughing? They said, have you seen such a dark-skinned nurse? Like, you can't qualify that. Both of them are slightly lighter than me. But it was like, I couldn't even be a nurse. I'm too dark to be a nurse. Education in South Africa was not free for blacks. It was free for whites, it was free for Indian, and it was free for the so-called colored people. For the Africans, we had to pay. We had the teachers that were employed by government to work there, and they were whites, except those who were teaching mother tongue. And they were very, very cruel. I mean, I've never seen educators so cruel. You could see the pleasure in their faces when they were beating us up. And they were paid extra salary compared with our colleagues teaching in the white schools. It was called tolerance fee because they're tolerating teaching black kids. I learned to eat a meal that had a worm in it and just put it on the side because there's no other meal. The conditions were so harsh that it made you question, why did I end up here? What am I doing here? And why are other people not here? My university was one of those highly politicized universities. All that we did for entertainment was talking politics and learning more. And I would be amazed at how much people knew because it was at the time that there was so much censorship in South Africa that you read certain books almost with the light off and a flashlight under the bed. Didn't want your roommate to know you are even reading a certain book because then in no time you get really arrested or followed or targeted. They would release a dog inside the hall. And I'm really terrified of dogs even today. And part of it goes back to that period So I never got arrested. And I think part of it was as soon as I heard the police were around and the dogs were barking, I would be out through the other door. Ultimately, I had to escape because I was getting death threats. And on one of the days, came home. There were people there from the conservative ultra wing, right wing, by my gate, all armed in guns, dressed in the khakis and swastikas on their arms and all. And when I came, say, communist and all that, and shouting. And I said, are you the ones who are sending death threats coming to kill me? And they sort of waved, but I was sitting there waiting for this gun to go off. I escaped with one of the student leaders on one cold winter morning. At that time, I had a passport from the homeland, which I took under my marriage name. And for me, it was a way of playing the politics to see if my name is targeted and they wouldn't give me one. So they gave me, and it wasn't in my last name, it was in the marriage name that I had never changed to, so I wasn't using it. So we come out at 4 a.m. I've bundled the kids, they're sleeping on the back seat. I'm sitting with this guy, and we're driving, and we come to a roadblock. As we approach the roadblock, we look at each other and say, it was nice knowing you, because we knew that I'm sure it's the end. As it's typical, 4 a.m., they send the most junior staff member who comes out there, asks for my driver's license. I pull out that one with the ID that has a different name and looks at us. We're just a family and lets us go. Do you remember that party when you really threw a party that ended up in the morning and I had to go straight to the airport from here?
That was your going away party.
It was my going away party.
It was when you were going to go on sabbatical. What do we have? We have tapas that night?
Tapas, yeah. So,
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was great.
Wow.
And dancing.
Dancing, a lot of dancing, music and all. And I just remember getting onto that plane, like, am I really going? Should I go? Shouldn't I go?
Dancing?
And you're the one encouraging me not to go forever, because I wanted to go for good.
Yeah, you were thinking about going back to South Africa. I would not let you do that.
You know what the good part was? I got lots of gifts, send-off gifts, and I came back.
I think I missed that party, unfortunately.
I came to the States in 82. I was curious about the US, and I wanted to come and study here as a way of just getting to know the US. This scholarship was from the US. It was a Fulbright scholarship, was from America. For me, America stretches from the bottom all the way up, so I didn't have much information, and I applied, I got interviewed, I was asked where I wanted to study. I said in the north, meaning North America. So they placed me in the north of the States. So I ended up in Wisconsin. That's where some of my sort of political values and beliefs slightly changed. I mean, I started appreciating the other, diversity, because people that I was interacting with, fellow students and all, I was the only Black in class, and they were warm and embracing and talking to me. And I think that for the first time, it made me realize that I'm isolating myself within the Black consciousness movement, but I needed that as a way of getting to know myself first. South Africa has got excellent policies on paper. They're all there. We've seen, we've heard how politicians, scholars, everybody talks about these excellent policies. And at the same time, 15 years later, looking into the country, did we see them being implemented?
One of the most prominent things I think about when they were talking about integration of schools and bringing about, all classes together, all races together, is the elementary and middle school we went to, where it was predominantly white during apartheid, but as soon as they opened it for integration and blacks started coming into the school, there was an exodus of white students. I think there was, one white student there when we were there.
I'm a professor at NYU, and I teach courses that have got an international dimension in them. And one of the courses is International Perspectives on Education. And that was the first course I designed when I got to NYU, because when I arrived, I first did a little project of looking at all the courses to see how much international material was in the courses, and none of them had an international dimension. Each time a group comes back, they would talk about how the course has transformed them, and that pushed me one year, myself and Colleen, my friend and colleague, that we should really try to unpack the concept. What do they mean by being transformed? And we did a little study, and what we realized is that that's the introduction to making them global citizens, because after that, they talk about how they want to do things for other people, even outside the US, in ways that they had never thought about. We walk into this place, very conservative, in the rural part of South Africa. And it's Colleen and I, and Marcella, another student.
One of our students.
We're going to the bar, restaurant bar. At the counter, Colleen orders a wine, comes to the table. Nice big glass. I think it was bigger
Just
than
like
this.
that, just
no,
like that.
no, it was bigger than this. It was like this.
It grows in your imagination. Yeah.
No, that's what it felt. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Marcelo goes there, comes back with this big glass of wine. I go there, and I come with a mini glass of wine for the same price.
She did. She came back with this little glass.
Of wine.
And she sits down next to me.
And Marcella, and both of them being white, like drinking out of big glasses, and I'm drinking out of a small. And I said, how come you guys got big glasses? How much did you pay?
You forgot something.
Okay, that's why I told you to tell the story.
Oh, okay.
I was in so much pain, I couldn't remember most of the things.
Okay, so no, I went and got a glass of wine. I got this big glass of wine. You came back with this little
Tiny glass of wine.
And you said, you see, this is a problem.
I knew immediately what was going on.
You did. You knew immediately. And I said,
no, that's not true.
I said, no, maybe they ran out of glasses, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm always, you know. And so then our student Marcella came over, and we said, okay, let's
experiment.
test it. Let's do our own little research here. You know, let's send her up to get a glass of wine and see what happens.
To see if they've run out of glasses, So she goes there, she comes back with a big glass.
Big glass of wine.
And you go there, you come back with another big glass. I said, let's go see. And I go there.
We went together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're standing together at the counter.
Yeah.
And you order your wine, you get it. I order my wine. The woman, big, white Africana woman, bends down, opens the fridge, takes out an already poured glass and puts it there. And I said, why do you give me that glass of wine that's ready? And she says, oh, they're the same. I said, no, they're not the same. Can you pour me a fresh glass of wine? So she goes around the corner. I suspect she just took another glass and dumped it and brought it, and I just took it out of desperation. Now we're out in the middle of nowhere, and we go sit down, and I said, I don't want to drink that wine. I suspect it's all the leftovers from the table that she's putting into one glass, waiting for a black client.
I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it.
Where were you, in
myself.
Pretoria or
No,
Uganda?
Chipisa, on the border of Zimbabwe.
Oh.
Yeah.
I realized at one point that my 6-year-old had lived in 7 places by the time he turned 6. And one day he said to me, Mom, where's home? So we bought a place in Pretoria, and we agreed that it will never be sold. So when we left that home, came to New York, we agreed that we're all going to come here for 3 years. It worked well for the kids, the school. They're going to be able to continue when they get back to South Africa. Everybody was going to be able to catch up. But My ex-husband was studying at that time, didn't want to go back, so we stayed a little bit longer. And my youngest son was very adamant that we had said we're coming to live in the US for 3 years. He has lived in the US for 3 years. He has enjoyed it. He had put his life on hold for 3 years. He wants to go back home. And I was torn between my ex-husband and my son. And after considering for some time, we realized that, well, we could let him go ahead for 2 years, and by the third year, we'll go. I maintained two homes on both sides of the Atlantic. And it came to a point where now my daughter was graduating from high school. That was another point in which to decide where to go live. And at that stage, I had decided that it was now time for me to go and be with my younger son and live back in South Africa. And at that stage, my daughter too was willing to go back to South Africa, but the kind of program she wanted wasn't being offered in South Africa. So I felt, okay, for her, she can go to college and I'll go back to South Africa. So I did that and I went back and lived in South Africa. And it was very hard for me because I realized that for my young son, the whole family is there, and he spends weekends with them. He's in boarding school during the week, and my daughter is out here, and I'm not there. And at that stage, I decided I better pack my bags once more and go live where she is so that I can be with her. The one trip that I took going back home that was the most challenging trip was when I was taking my daughter back now as a corpse on the same plane in the cargo. It was a very difficult trip for me, the whole trip. And because of the publicity that had gone with it, everybody on the crew knew who we were and knew. So you felt eyes were on you all the time and everything. And at the same time, just the pain of just sitting in that plane for 17 hours with her in the cargo. Strawberry. It's nice.
Oh, look.
You pulled out that green one too. Lost one strawberry there.
I've known Teboho since we met in February of '01. And we met on a flight from Johannesburg to New York.
He was meant to be sitting next to a couple that was squabbling and they were not sitting together. So I offered that I could switch with one of them.
I still can't believe to this day that actually happened because I think a lot of us that travel a lot, the last thing that we really want to do is engage in a conversation with a perfect stranger. And it turned out that we hit it off so well that we, the flight was 16 hours. I think we probably talked for 12 of it.
He had some fruits and all that, all wilted, of course, because he had been driving all day in the sun, and he offered me, and I'm polite, so I wasn't going to say no.
I think it was about 2 months after that. I was in New York for business, and I went down to the apartment in the village and met her husband then, and Tumi and Lebo, her kids.
We got to know each other, send each other cards once a year, just over Christmas.
And then in '04, her Christmas card was only signed Teboho and kids, and I thought, something happened. And so we've been together pretty much since then.
Steve is great with my kids and my family in general.
Her boys are such good kids, and it's always look forward to seeing them. It's a big family. I only had one brother, and we're very close, but it's different with all of her siblings and nieces and nephews. Just becoming a grandmother now, it's like I have my first grandson.
One of my favorite quotes is by Thomas Paine, and he says that my country is the world, and my religion is to do good. And I've always thought about that with you, you know, that you come here and you fit in so well. You go there, you fit in so well.
I think one of the things about Teboho is that people that meet her their lives are so enriched just from that. And if you think about it, if it weren't for us having such open borders, really, you know, for her to even be here is all of the whole country benefits from people like her being here. And I know I can't imagine my life without her, and I think that's probably the way everybody that knows her feels.
I feel really lucky that my life is duplicated in 2 countries. I have a community of friends, some so close that they're like family to me. And in South Africa, I have my friends that whenever I come back, it's like I've never left. And I have my family. So I feel at home in both. And it feels strange when I travel, like now having gone to Norway. When I came back, it's like, wow, it's so nice to be back home. And that's the same when I land in South Africa. So I feel like I belong in more than one place, and I just love it.